Welcome back to Keep Off the Fence podcast, the number one Matlock Town podcast in the whole of Tunisia. Who knew? Not us, but we do now. And of course, it would not be the Keep Off the Fence podcast without my illustrious co-host, the man who made sure that this meeting is being recorded. It's Matthew Rhodes. Matt, how are you, my friend?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you. How are you, James?
I am ecstatic that you're very happy. I mean, of course, we record this at a time where it's just big for Chesterfield FC have made the National League playoffs. So as you can imagine, Matt is more excited than a gaggle of kittens. He's quite thrilled at the minute.
I know.
Thrilled, shocked, aghast, perhaps.
Knackered more than anything. Genuinely drained me a bit watching that game, especially when who did we play? I just genuinely can't remember where I am at the moment. When Halifax had that free kick in the 95th minute from about 20 yards out, I was fearing the worst, but thankfully it went over, and with Chesterfield are in the playoffs after losing 7 of the first 9 league games, which is pretty remarkable, really.
Well, you better get a good night's rest tonight, because tomorrow, but for you listeners, it'll be later in this podcast, Matthew Rhodes will sit down, virtually that is, with Matlock Town legend, a man who is our first news story today, how can it not be, Adam Yates, who has called time in his playing career. So keep listening. This interview, that interview will be in this podcast. It will be towards the end of the news, something we're really looking forward to doing. And yes, 24 hours ago, as we record this, I finally got the green flag from MTFC HQ and said, James, it's time to put out the announcement of Adam Yates retiring after 12 years, over 500 games, a staple of not only the club but the town, an era that has gone beyond anything I think any of us could have imagined, has now come to an end. Something I think we could both say we got it wells you up a bit, don't it? It gets you quite emotional.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously, you told me a few days ago that this was going to be coming. Obviously, I couldn't make it public yet, so kind of was able to prepare myself once the news was able to finally be confirmed in public. But it is just it is sad because, as you mentioned before, longevity in terms of not really longevity, loyalty to just the one club at any level now just doesn't happen as much as it used to, which is why players like, Harry Kane for the time being at Spurs, and players like Noble at West Ham, why they do get celebrated as kind of like cult heroes, because they have shown immense loyalty to one, and that's why Adam Yates, as well as obviously being a very good fullback and defender in general, is so loved at Matlock, because I'm more than certain that he could have played at a higher level, could have played at National League North, but he's always stuck with Matlock. Because he loved the club and still does, and it's just it is sad because it is like the end of an era, really, because obviously Matlock have had quite a few ups and downs in the time that he's been at the club, but he's always been through him. He's sort of like being the one constant. So obviously there's been a lot of different managers over that period of time, and a lot of turnover within the club as well in terms of the players. So he's sort of like being the one constant, along with obviously the fans that come every game. So it is sad, and obviously that's been shown in how much love he's got online, and I'm sure in person whenever he has like a testimonial, or whenever he's just at the next game. Just how much love he's got at the club.
It's one of those things. It's a lot to get your sort of head round, because Adam is such a staple of not only the playing side of things, but the off the field side of things. Whenever a new member of staff joined or a new player, Adam was always the first to go over and welcome them. He was always the first to, and I'm sure Matt will agree with me, always the first to take an interest. He always asked about you beyond football. He wanted to know the person, not just the job they do. It was and I always got the sense from Adam, there was a real sincerity to he actually cared about the club. It wasn't just you. And I think in modern day football, especially at a higher level, you see players come along and they say, "Oh yeah, it's my boyhood dream to join X club or join Y club." Adam's somebody who, and I think you've touched it briefly there, Matt, there's no doubt in my mind could have played at a higher level should he have wished. And when he came into Matlock in 2009, this was a young man making the step up from Shirebrook Town to Matlock Town, which is no easy feat, let's be honest. It's quite a few levels. And I remember in the first few games, I believe Adam was competing with Scott Brough for the right back position. And that's then a place he made his own, of course. He paired what might be considered one of the all-time centre-back partnerships at Matlock Town with James Lukich. When James Lukich retired, Adam picked up that mantle of been the leader, been the man whose voice you will always hear in the tunnel, June lads. And I just think his presence on every game day is going to be a miss. Of course, hopefully Adam will still be involved with the club in some regards. I don't think our chairman Bryn Appley has mentioned in what sort of role yet. I believe talks are still ongoing, but it's one of those things. Try as you might, and don't get me wrong, there are some fantastic centre backs out there, some fantastic full backs, even at non-league level. Even if you got a player who was as capable as Adam Yates on the playing side of things, there is only one Adam Yates. You can't replace what he means to Matlock Town on a day-to-day basis. And I truly hope when all this has smoothed out with the pandemic, or as it's got figured out as it can, that we'll be able to get together and, celebrate a legacy, celebrate a career. And hopefully Adam's two young daughters will grow up knowing how much their dad meant to not only the club, but the town in general. So, as I say, after we've spoke about the news, Matt will be having a virtual chat with Adam. So do keep listening. Towards the end of this podcast, it will be there. Just keep your ears out for it. And it's a chance for us to really celebrate Adam's legacy. Hopefully, we'll be able to sit down with Adam in person at some point. I'm sure he's got some great stories to tell. That's something me and Matt discussed prior to this, we'd really like to do. And looking ahead now, and I mean, it's a difficult one to sort of segue that because it's such big news. It sort of feels like still I'm expecting someone to come along and say, "Oh yeah, James, it was a mistake." Adam's going to be here for another few seasons, or whatever. But that's not the case. But as we celebrate the present, we also must look towards the future. And just like London buses, you don't just have one bit of news. Matlock Town turned up with a dumper truck full of news and pretty much unloaded it at our feet and said, "James, Matt, I heard you've got nothing to talk about on the podcast. And that's why you've been babbling. So here you go. Matt, I've heard on the grapevine," and this is old news now, but I've heard that there is a new face soon to be debuting at the Proctor Cars Stadium. This man you sat down with Dave Wild to talk about. Can you reveal to our listeners who perhaps don't look at social media who said player is?
It is, and I've worked hard on the pronunciation to make sure it's right. It is Jezerin Uchegbalam. So he's come over from Mosley and also has worked with Dave Wild at Stockport Town, which was Dave's first managerial job. So he knows him very well, and he's known him since he's about 15, I think. So yeah, he's still only 20, and apparently just a lot of raw potential still. For full details, have a look at the interview. But it does seem like he's a good, an interesting sort of exciting signing, as in like he's very, very quick from what we've heard from Wildy and from Philo as well, when I've seen the quotes that he said in terms of what kind of player Uchegbalam is. So yeah, it looks like he's going to be a player that's going to get fans excited by and really invested in. So he'll be running up and down that wing. But I think as he's matured a little bit in the last sort of 12, 18 months, he's sort of matured his game a little bit from what Wildy has said. So I think he had a tendency of just running down that wing and just going for goal. But as he's getting a little older, he's more aware of the team game as opposed to just his own individual one. And yeah, it does sound like it's a pretty good signing. Because I've not seen him in person so far playing the game, but it does sound very good. And it's always a good sign when a lot of the Matlock players that use social media, pretty much, I think all of them said, yeah, it's a really good signing. Looking forward to him starting. So should be a good player, and looking forward to seeing him play. First pre-season game, I imagine. So that's works with early July. So yeah, should be good.
We will be moving on to those pre-season game announcements after we've gone through the player news, of course. But as you say, I think Jez is somebody who, talking to my sources at other clubs and talking to the lads at Matlock in particular, he's somebody who's very direct. He likes to get at his fullbacks. He's not afraid to pull out a few tricks if need be. And I think it's something that in non-league, it's so valuable, because if you've got players who's going to get into the box, who's going to, pull out a few tricks, they are going to end up getting taken down once twice, which can lead to penalties, which can lead to free kicks in dangerous areas. Not only that, this is we must say, this is still a very young man. However, it's somebody that has potential, and it's still very raw potential. But I don't think there's any better team in non-league currently for that potential to grow than Matlock Town. Having someone like the Gaffer, having someone like Dave Wild, and Dave in particular, you could tell there's a strong belief there. There's a strong bond. And I think that can only be a real positive for Matlock going forward. And hopefully, as we say, 6th of July, first pre-season friendly, I believe.
Yes, I believe that's can't remember what day that is, but yeah, Friday, I believe it is. So yeah, Friday night, I think I think it is anyway. But yeah, on the 6th of July, I think. So it should be good.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh well, not too far off then.
we do play on Friday the 9th as well.
Yes, because I knew there was one there on the Friday night, because I am at a stag do the day afterwards, so that could be interesting. But thank God it's the other way around. But not the other way around. But I'll be there at the game, and then heading down to Liverpool, I believe, for a stag do the day after that.
Didn't get an invite. Won't take it personally. But so this game's coming up. We will hopefully see Jez in that game, which is exciting in itself. So plan that one in your diaries if you haven't already. Live, in person, football at Matlock with fans.
And
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and there'll be coverage of it, but I can't fully commit in terms of exactly what will be happening for the coverage, but it should be good. Should be very good. So, stay tuned for that as well.
I tell you now, I don't know. Of course, our listeners won't be able to see it, but Matt must have quite the extension lead for all these plugs he's whipping out today. When it comes to, he's a man who comes prepared. That's a journalist, my friends. He is somebody who knows where to pop those plugs in. But saying that, Jez is a new arrival, but there's also some familiar faces staying at Matlock Tower. Can you give us a lowdown on those gentlemen, Matt?
Yeah, if I can remember all of them, because there's a few. So Liam Hughes will definitely be staying, which don't feel will come as too much of a surprise, because Liam has made it really clear that he really, really likes being at Matlock, very keen on staying, I'd imagine, for the foreseeable. And yeah, as already has a really good rapport with the Matlock fan base as well, with what he does off the pitch as well as on the pitch. As we all know, he's big mental health advocate, so that's also worth following as well in terms of keeping in touch with him on social media, because the stuff that he does is very, very important. So yeah, Liam Hughes is staying, so he'll be there up top again for Matlock, and I would imagine still being probably the captain, or at least, one of the more influential leaders on the team. Who else is staying? Reece Kendall, he's staying, isn't he?
He is the dynamic left back, or most improved player. Somebody who came into the side, took the reins of that left back position, and made it his own, and wasn't afraid to pop up with an odd goal here or there either. I think we've got a lot more to come from Reece, and it's an exciting player to tie down for another season.
Yep. So Kendall's staying. Sean Rowley is staying. Don't think we've covered that before, have we?
We have not, but he is the man who makes the sweetest saves in non-league.
Yes. Which is fantastic that we've retained him, because just purely in terms of shot stopping, fantastic. I've seen him in the flesh, and I can tell you, I think I've already seen him make more saves than what David De Gea has in his whole career.
I wouldn't swap him. I wouldn't swap him for anyone.
Well, not when it comes to penalties, no.
Well, I was talking about Matlock's league, but you're just heaping. I hope the gaffer don't listen to this, or he'll be having.
I'm sure he'll agree with me, David De Gea, when it comes to penalties. I think I've got more chance of saving them. I'm only 5'6".
Mate, I'd kill to be 5'6". Yeah, Sean's brilliant. For me, I wouldn't swap him for any other goalkeeper in the league. I think he's somebody who's coming at a difficult time. Obviously, John Stewart's departed. We knew about that prior to the pandemic-halted season. But so Sean came in with big boots to fill. And he's somebody who he just gets on with the job. Some of the saves he pulled off, that Grantham one in particular, that was award-winning. It is such a vital part of your team to have a top goalkeeper. I honestly believe it's one of those positions that truly is underappreciated, because it's easier as a striker to get the man of the match vote for scoring goals. It's easier for a defender, say they chuck an elastics challenge. But good saves sometimes go under the radar. And Sean's somebody who's, as you say, shot stopping is second to none.
Yeah. They're really good. Especially the couple of saves that he made against South Shields away from home as well was very good, when South Shields were throwing everything at Matlock in that second half. Really good that they've managed to keep him on for at least another season. And we've got Ryan Qualter, who what did he win? He won Player of the Season, didn't he? Or Signing of the Season?
Signing of the season.
Signing
Big
of the season.
Ryan Qualter. We tried to give him the award, but he headed it away. The big man is back for another season. Wow. Talk about players who could be playing at a higher level. What a big boost for Matlock Town that it's time that man down for another year. He is somebody, especially with Adam Yates' retirement, it was so vital to get another leader in that defensive unit, and having somebody like Ryan Qualter. And, you know, we don't know whether, of course, non-contracted players we should add haven't been announced yet because of the forms haven't gone out. It's usually the 1st of July, although we may see, I don't know if it's different this year because of the pandemic. That's not something that I am aware of. However, the players that Matt's mentioning are contractors, which is why they've been announced. So to have somebody like Ryan, who, for my money, is a National League North defender, if not higher, to have somebody like that in your back line and have that steel and have that grit and determination, there's a reason he won that signing of the season award. And I feel if Matt Lukich have a good season in the 21-22 season, Ryan's going to be vital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's he was my sort of player of let's say the season. I mean, what, a quarter of the season that we had. So it's unfortunate because obviously there's so many decent additions that Matlock have made, and obviously the fans have still not really seen much. I mean, fans that still haven't really seen that much of Philo and Wildy as running the team. There's still not been that many games, which is strange because obviously they've been in charge for coming up to 18 months now. So it is a strange position. So I think once obviously fingers crossed everything's fine for this season. Obviously with seemingly in a good place in terms of where the pandemic's now going, then fans can actually start to see these players week in and week out and really see how good they are, especially for this level. Qualter's definitely one of them. The last one was Callum Chippendale, I believe, who also picked up, I think, an injury as well around that time. So again, even fans who were able to go to some of the games over the last season probably didn't get to see that much of him either. But another good player that Philo and Wildy really likes. Very good work rate. And really good that we've kept him on for another season at least.
Having Callum come back in, it's going to be like a new signing. But I don't feel in pre-season up to when he got injured against Tamworth, we hadn't really. We saw a player that was sort of coming into his own. He was, he'd made that move across the A6 and he was melding into the squad. Sadly, he picked up that injury. And as we said, because there was only a quarter of the season, we never really got going again, got back up to speed, but he did put in some great performances towards the end of that. Well, I don't know even if you could call it a season. But there is one man you forgot, Matthew. You forgot the wing wizard himself, Alex Bird.
Whoops.
So
good journalism.
We'll have to put you into the corner for that one, because he'll not be happy, but he is the man who brings the assists to that Matlock Town team. And my word, I have seen some wingers during my time watching Matlock Town. Alex Byrne is up there in the conversation for one of the best. Some of the passes, and I mean, the one that sticks out in my mind in particular, that ball to Liam for the goal against Ashton, when he took it down his chest, fired a volley home. I've never seen somebody with that sort of delivery at Matlock for many a year. And having that in your locker and knowing you've got that to call on, and then you've got the pace and the trickery of Jez possibly on the other side, that's going to be a formidable attack for a defence to try and stop. And it's going to add space. It's going to add pull away markers from Liam, from any other forwards. that may be playing for Matlock at that time. And it's going to open many doors to different attacks, different styles of play. And hopefully, I noticed, and it'd be interesting if you agree with this, Matt, watching Matlock in that quarter season that we did, there was a lot of fluid attacking play. A lot of it was on the front foot. Matlock didn't really sit back. It was always trying to get at defenders. It was a lot about work rate. And that's what I think a lot of fans will see again this coming season and will really like.
Yeah, I think the best example of that was against Ashton, where we won 4-1. And Ashton were a good team as well. Certainly at that time with the players that they had, I don't know how many changes they're going to make between now and the start of the season. But yeah, that's probably the best example of that in terms of how they were going to play and get their goals. And Matlock were great in that. But even in they were still impressive in the games where they kind of had to sit back a bit and couldn't really go on the front foot that they'd like to, like in the South Shields game. And one of the Grantham away ones, just because it's with the kind of venue it is, it's quite an awkward venue to be trying to play any decent style of football, not to be too harsh on them. But yeah, even for games where they were sort of having to sort of dial it back a bit and soak up a lot of pressure, just showed how good the Matlock defence is as well. Obviously, we don't know in terms of whether they're going to stay in terms of players like Edgerton, players like that. Don't know for certain whether they'll be there next season, but it just showed how good Matlock's defence was. And it's a shame that we didn't get to see them throughout like a whole campaign and see exactly where they would have finished in the table with that. So it'll always be a shame because we'll never know how they would have got on, whether they would have made the top 5 or not, but just got to put that behind you. There's nothing they could do about, and just make sure they're best prepped as best as possible for this coming campaign, because there's every chance that we are finally going to get a normal, traditional, actual full season. So we just need to try and think about that rather than dwell on the past.
But of course, with new additions, players getting retained, comes departures. Of course, as pre-mentioned, Adam Yates has retired. There's also been the departure of Callum Dolan. Callum, a winger who never really found his footing at Milan. I never feel we really saw the best from him. And I think it's one of those where it'll be looked at, is it a good move for both parties? Hopefully, Callum will go on and he'll find a club and he'll find his feet, because there's definitely ability there. It's just finding how to get that out of it. And I think a lot of that has to come from Callum himself and getting into a place where he's comfortable, getting that desire, that hunger. Because there's a reason teams like Manchester United, teams like Blackburn took a chance on him. And you can see it. We saw glimmers at times, especially in pre-season, of what a special talent he could be. And hopefully, Matlock, ex-Matlock players have a habit of coming back to haunt Matlock in games they come up against us. Nathan Joyce comes to mind a few years back. Hopefully that will not be the case with Callum, but we wish him, everybody here at the Keep Up the First podcast, wish him the best of luck. But it's not just Callum and Yatesy. We found out yesterday that Spencer Harris is departing the club after, pretty much 2 seasons, but it was 2 cut up into weird sort of chunks because of the pandemic. Spencer, just a bulldog in midfield, came in first season under Steve Kittrick. It was what it was, but he really found his footing, and I feel under Philo, when he came back, we saw Spencer was a different beast. He came back a lot fitter, and it felt like he had the bit between his teeth. And to then be shut down again by the pandemic, it was a shame. But I feel like Spencer can be very proud of his time that he spent at Matlock. And it was an absolute pleasure from a media side and from a fan side to get to know Spencer and know his family, who are extremely supportive of him. We will miss seeing them at the ground, of course. So we wish Spencer all the best from everyone here at Keep Up the Fence podcast. There will be more incomings. There might be more outgoings. I don't know. Over the coming weeks, we will sit here. We will discuss them. We might have new players on. We might have the gaffer on. Who knows? But that is all your player news in a lovely, neatly wrapped bow. But that's not all the news that we got this week. No. We also got some friendly news, as we've touched on. Now, I'm going to run through these games, Matt, quickly. And there's only 4 been announced currently, but when I've done so, I'd like to know which one of these games you are most looking forward to. So, starting on the 6th of July, which of course is Tuesday, we will play Works with Ivanhoe. And this game has big silverware implications because Works with Ivanhoe are celebrating their 100th season. And it is an absolute privilege and honour for us to host them in their Centenary Cup. We will play ourselves against them. It'll be interesting. Should be a great evening. That will be at the Proctor Cars Stadium. It's a 7:30 kickoff. So put that down in your diaries. Hopefully, depending, I'm not sure how the country will be yet, but with COVID and stuff, keep an eye on the relevant social media pages. If anything should change, that will be on there. But that is your first chance to see Matlock Town in the 21-22 season. And if you're thinking, well, I hope it's not long until the next game, then do not worry, because we will be, once again, at home against Boston United on Friday, the 9th of July. And that one has a 7:45 p.m. kickoff. And that is Boston and Matlock over the years have had some fantastic rivalries, some fantastic games. Boston, now playing in the National League North, will be a test for Paul Phillips' Gladiators to see where they are early on in pre-season. Now, our third game that's been out so far pre-season is a return to Brighouse Town's St. Giles Road on the 24th of July at midday. That's a midday kickoff. That is always a good place to visit. They're absolutely fantastic hosts last time. Reece Kendall's on team, of course. He captained Matlock in the 2020-21 season, pre-season friendly we had with them, which was a fantastic touch by Paul, the gaffer. So that's another one to look forward to. That is a midday kickoff again, away at Brighouse Town. And then rounding us off the friendlies we've got announced so far, there's Sheffield FC on the 31st of July, which is, you'll have to bear with me, is a Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff at the BT Local Business Stadium. What do you say about Sheffield FC? Oldest club in the world, an absolute pleasure to play them. It's always great to catch up with some old faces and meet new ones. That promises to be a great game. There is more pre-season games to be announced in the coming weeks, so keep an eye on the relevant social media feeds. Matthew, which of those 4 games takes your fancy in particular? Which one are you most excited to see?
The first one, I think, works with just because I think it's the first one. I imagine it'll be Worksworth's first game back as well, with it being early in July. Yeah, I would say that one, just because obviously it's not a competitive match, but you got a nice little trophy to play for Worksworth's centenary. So it should be a good atmosphere. And obviously that's like Matlock's sort of sister team, feeder team. So it should be a good, friendly atmosphere. I'd imagine, obviously, if the roadmap has gone to plan, then it should be no limits in terms of crowds, possibly still social distancing. But yeah, it should sort of feel a bit like normality. And it'll just going to be nice to finally have that first feeling yet. So yeah, I would probably say that one, the Worksworth one. And as I mentioned before, there will be coverage for it. And well, I can't go into full details yet, but from what it looks like, it'll be quite detailed, especially considering it's a pre-season game. So, but we'll give you full details on that when we can. But yeah, so if you can't be at the game, I'd imagine you'd certainly be able to follow it quite easily as well. But yeah, it'll be good, and it'll just be good to finally be back at a Matlock game. I have now been to a game finally since December when Matlock played that weird training game against Trafford. Went to watch Kerno versus Cascadia in the Canifa International Federation. Just a friendly match. It was nice because it had fans there, and you still had to do like social distancing and stuff. And like when you went into the clubhouse, you had to wear a mask before you could sit down. But you know, we are getting there. We are close. It actually felt quite normal-ish, and it was just nice. So yeah, for me, works with the first one. Just really looking forward to finally getting back and hopefully starting a full season's coverage, which I would quite like to do at some point.
I mean, speaking of masks, I may continue to don one purely because people say it's an improvement. So if you see me still wearing a mask at a game, know that it's just to hide my face a bit more than anything to be worried about. But as you say, Wirksworth, sister club, a real chance for the community to come together to celebrate the people we've lost during the pandemic, to celebrate, hopefully, return to normality. And everything in between. It's been such a long time since Saturday's been something to look forward to. I mean, today, I said to Matt prior to this, doing this back, I said, I'll not keep you too long because I've got to go and do the food shopping. I'm like, I don't want to go do the food shopping.
The classic Saturday, that. Doing the food.
I want to see Hughesy bang a goal into the top corner. I want to see Ryan Qualter make a fantastic clearance. I want to see Sean Rowley pull off a top save. You know, it bookends the week so nicely. It's something to look forward to. And it keeps you going. It keeps that steam behind you. And I think that's what we need as a football club and as people, as humans. So hopefully, all things going well, we will be back playing football much sooner than later. Before we go into the Adam Yates interview with Matt, I will hand you over to Matt. He will be doing that on his own, more than anything, because he is the better interviewer between us, in my opinion. I've not told him that, though.
We'll let the jury go out on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure they'd probably agree with you. So, we wanted to take a minute to mark our respects to the family and friends of a player who played numerous times against Matlock, a player who was a friend of many Matlock Town players, and that is James Dean, who sadly passed away recently. I know a lot hasn't been revealed about James's passing, but he was somebody who was very well loved, very well respected. And no matter who he played for, whether it was FC Halifax Town, whether it was Chorley FC, or whether it was even our rivals, Buxton FC, there was always a respect there from the football community for James as a player and as a person. And to lose some part of the football family is always sad. For it to be a young man with a young family as well. I know there is a Just Giving page for James. I believe Chorley have tweeted out. So please, if you do want to donate in any way to help his family with funeral costs and such, please do so. Also, we emphasize this again as we do on a lot of podcasts, as Matt mentioned about Liam Hughes and Wand and everything they do. Mental health for a lot of us has taken a hit this year. and the year prior. It's so important to look after yourself, look after other people, talk to people. There's always somebody out there, although it may not always feel like it, who loves you, who cares about you, and they want what's best for you. And sometimes the first few steps are the hardest. I've taken them. I know Matt's taken them. He spoke about it in the past. I know Liam Hughes, who, let's face it, you're not going to meet a more manly man than Liam Hughes. He's 6'5", built like a brick house. Obviously, I missed a word there because I'm behaving myself. But it can affect anybody. And you wouldn't not, if you broke your leg, you'd go and get treatment. You won't try and walk around with a broken leg. Mental health, no different. So please don't suffer in silence. Seek out help if you need it. And once again, rest in peace to James Dean. Now we will move on to the part of the podcast where I will be departing, but my illustrious co-host Matthew Rhodes will be speaking with Matlock Town legend, 12 years, over 500 games, a man who embodies everything that Matlock Town is. I will now hand you over to Matthew Rhodes chatting with Adam Yates.
Hello, this is Matthew Rhodes, and I'm joined by, Matlock Town legend, Adam Yates, because, of course, we've heard the recent news that Adam has decided to hang up the boots, and his footballing career as a player, at least, has now come to an end, which is very sad news, not just for Matlock, but for the local region and for non-league football as well. So I'll try not to break down in tears halfway through the interview, Adam. But Adam, how are you today, first of all?
I'm okay. As you know, I've got my hands full now with two little girls running around. We had a bit of a night of it last night. So, yeah, just getting used to routines. And, yeah, it just adds very much another dynamic to the family. But yeah, you know better than me as well, Matt. It's a juggling act sometimes, but yeah, a little bit tired this morning, but we're fine.
Well, I mean, I look really tired, and I weren't even up, having to deal with the child last night. So this is the effect that it's had on me already. First question, really. I mean, obviously, there's no point really asking you how you feel, because obviously it's a sad moment in terms of the career, but obviously the best decision for you in terms of your family, which is obviously the number one top priority. But I guess, first of all, sort of how long did it take for you to come to this decision? Was it something that sort of kind of hit you and thought, actually, I don't need to do another season? It's not my priority anymore, or has this been something that you've been mulling over for quite a while?
It's a difficult one, really. I think it was an accumulation of things all at once, really. And me and my wife Rachel, we had a chat when we were looking to add to the family, and we thought, we just thought, we'll play football by here, and because it's obviously been a huge part of my life up until now. And see how it pans out. And I think within the first few weeks, it was apparent that it wouldn't be right for me to kind of go back to football and be able to give 100% as I have been in the past, because the last thing I'd want is to go back to pre-season and start the season next year and not be fully committed and not be able to give 100% to the club. And then there's also another dynamic that I've kind of had a career development as well in February, and I've got a new job in telecoms, and I'm wanting to kind of put my full efforts into that as also. So yeah, it's just an accumulation of things, and that time of life where other things take precedent, and like I said, the last thing I'd want to do is not be able to give 100% to Matlock Town on the field. I think it's been made apparent as well on social media that I want to still be part of the club if possible, and with the little time that I have, kind of have be able to help out where I can, and I'll be going down to the lane and things like that. So I won't be a stranger to the club. But yeah, it's just definitely an accumulation of things that come to a head, really.
Okay, and I imagine it must. Well, obviously now that you've made the decision and it's gone public, I imagine it must be very frustrating that your career's ended without fans being there. Because I think I'm right in saying the last competitive match that you will have played, I think there were no fans at all. It was at a time when only coaching staff and media were allowed to be at the game. Just how strange is it sort of to know that your last season with the club was only played sort of like a handful of times in front of actual fans? Sort of how strange is that to look back on?
It is. I don't know if you know my last competitive game, because I can't actually remember it. And was. I know we played Hyde in a friendly away.
I think it was the FA Trophy game where you got beat by. Oh, there's two teams that sound exactly like one another, and I always get them mixed up. Trying to remember who it was now. But yeah, you got. It was a bit of a surprise because they were a tier below you, but you got beat, I think 5-2.
Was that the last competitive game then? Was it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Right. God, that's a long time ago as well.
Oh, it's early December.
I can't remember the exact name of the side, but yeah, I know it. Yeah, I can remember that game. But yeah, it's frustrating, Matt, and everyone involved with the club. We're in a pandemic, so football takes back seat. But looking back, it probably is sad to think that and what's gone on. It's just awful timing, and I think we would have had a really good opportunity last year, especially with the squad that Philo and the backroom staff put together. I think we could have had a really good go, and it is frustrating from that point of view, because many frustrations, to be honest, over the years, and especially with the league performances and lack of consistency over the years. It's been a real frustration for me. I know we've had a little bit of success in the cup competitions, Derbyshire Cup, FA Trophy, FA Cup, little bits. But yeah, that's the main one for me, main kind of frustration that we haven't kind of been consistent through it. We've had spells where we've, under Dave Frecklington, where we've gone 10, 11, 12 games unbeaten. I can't remember what it was, but we had a really good run, and it's just that consistency over the full course of the year that we've seemed to lack, and that's a real frustration personally for me.
Just remembered it, Coles Hill Town. That was the team. I couldn't think of it at first, but yeah, there's a Colville and a Coles Hill, and you played both those teams in the space of about 2 weeks. So kept getting mixed up between the two. I think you've touched on it a little bit before, but before this interview today. But now that obviously, if this government roadmap does end successfully in terms of when all restrictions that are still in place at the moment will be lifted, which I think I'm right in saying is June the 21st. So by the time the new season starts, there shouldn't be any restrictions at all, or certainly nowhere near as strict as it has been. So will you be looking for or would you like to have a testimonial for yourself, not necessarily in pre-season, but sort of like at some point within the next year to have a testimonial, just so you can have like a final send-off in front of the Matlock fan base?
That'd be fantastic, and if the club see fit for that to happen, then I think that kind of put the cherry on the cake for me, really, in terms of the last 12 years. That'd be fantastic. Get some old faces back to the lane, and who perhaps I've not seen for a good deal of time, and because. clubs, etc., etc. So it'd be nice to bring some of those faces back together from the early days when Mark Atkins was in charge. And it would be really nice to do something like that if the club see fit.
Yeah, and I know you've touched on this a little bit before as well, since we started chatting, that obviously not necessarily like within the next few weeks or anything like that, but I take it you would be keen in just having some sort of capacity, being involved with the club in some sort of backroom facility. Would that involve? Would you like the idea of doing some sort of coaching or just some sort of other different role rather than just being a spectator for future matches?
Yeah, at this early stage when I've got kind of 2 children under 5, I've got limited time, and the time that I do have away from my 9 to 5 job, I want to be spending a lot of time with them. But with the time that I do have, I'm more than happy to, and I've already said this to Philo and Dave and the backroom staff, that any way I can help in next year, if anything at all, then just give me a shout. And because I feel as though I've got quite a bit of experience at this level, and I've probably seen a lot of stuff go on, and I probably know what's effective at this level as well in terms of right players and what expectations. And at this level, it is hard, Matt. It is hard, especially for lads at this level who are juggling jobs and family commitments. It's not like the pro game where you've just kind of got to concentrate on playing and then you've got your family. It's kind of, you've got to juggle the 2 jobs and the 2 commitments, and you've got to be in the right headspace to play games on a Saturday. You've got to eat right. You've got to look after yourself. So yeah, there's just that many things that you have to juggle at this level. It's perhaps if I was in the pro game, I might have been able to extend my career till what, because I feel physically and mentally okay. I feel as though I can still perform at this level. It's just the commitment side of it is come to a head, really.
Yeah, and I've not got this written down actually, but it's just coming to my head. When you did first tell Matlock, I assume you either told Bryn, the chairman, or Philo, the manager. What was like Philo's reaction? Was it quite a big surprise to him when you told him that your playing days are now have actually come to an end?
Yeah, because I'd not really discussed it with anyone, Matt, other than my wife and probably my dad. So it probably did come as a shock to Philo, but I wanted to be open with him on my thoughts and be honest, and I felt I did that. But Philo was supportive in all that, and I appreciate his support. But yeah, I think potentially it was a little bit shocked to start off with, but I felt as though it was the right time, and I feel as though it was perhaps the right time for him to make any adjustments to the squad with my absence that's necessary. I didn't want to kind of leave it till the last day before going back for pre-season and say, oh, by the way, this is what's going to happen. I feel as though I perhaps gave him enough time to juggle things and perhaps get a player in or 2 players in that could fill the void or whatever he needs to do, really. But yeah, I felt as though I gave him enough time to make any changes.
Okay, and with the last couple of questions, we'll take a quick trip down memory lane. Now, as myself as a Chesterfield supporter, I will always hold you in high regard for being in a Matlock team that knocked out Mansfield Town in the FA Trophy. So I'll always congratulate you for that. But is there any other particular game that sort of stands out for you as a highlight while at Matlock's? I know where there's been particular FA Trophy games where you've caused an upset that I'm sure you'll hold in high regard. But any other particular games that that you have very very happy memories of?
So many. I have flashbacks all the time of particular games, and because you've played that many games that they all kind of in a way merge into one, but there are certain games that you get little flashbacks about. I know played FC United many times over the years, and when we went to Stalybridge and beat them 5-1 away, and Mark Atkins was in charge then, and I think Ross Hannah maybe scored from the halfway line in that game, and that was a real special game to be involved in. There was a max crowd at Stalybridge. It was a beautiful summer's day. It was really fond memories of that one, and then also I think we had an FA Trophy run where we just missed out. Did we play Luton? We may have played Luton at home in the FA Trophy. We missed out 1-0 from a goal that I think it just crossed the line, and the linesman flagged for it to be over the line, but it was a very dubious decision. So we nearly pushed Luton to extra time and penalties, or it may have been a replay actually. So yeah, there's a few games that stand out, but yeah, the FC United games are special with the bit bumper crowds and playing people like Scarborough where we have big crowds at the lane. They're special. And
last question, sort of putting you on the spot a little bit here, but what's if you were to sort of maybe name a couple of players or one in particular, who's the sort of best player that you've played with? Who would you say have been the best players that you've played against?
Well, I'll start with God.
I've put you on the spot here, haven't I?
I know. As I said before, Matt, I played with many great players down the lane, and I had a chat with Rico in the week as well, and he asked a similar question. But and one chap who I didn't mention in the interview with Rico is James Lukich. Where do I start? So James, he's a fantastic lad on and off the field. He actually employed me for a short time when I was at university studying, and I worked for his company for a short time with James, and he kind of took me under its wing since the first day I walked into the club, really. He was captain at the time when I first joined, and Mark gave him a chance alongside James, and I think we played a number of seasons together, and it was a fantastic time, and I learned so much from James. And I was kind of part of his family at one point. His wife and his children, fantastic family. So yeah, James has been a cracking lad for me during my time at Matlock. I think I also mentioned to Rico as well about Ross Hannah and his success at Matlock Town. I think it's great that he's come back to the club, and it's a little bit disappointing for me that I can't spend time with him during this year and hopefully get the success that the club wants and needs in a way. And then also Zach Brunt, who's at Sheffield United now, verging on the first team. He's a special talent, and watch this space for Zach, because I just think the sky's the limit for that guy. He spent a short time at Matlock when Kirky and Oppo were managers, and you could just see he stood out a country mile. And he's such a cracking lad, and his family are great as well. So yeah, I just wish him all the best. And then last part of your question as well about players that I've perhaps played against. There's so many. There's so many.
Imagine Robbie Dale must be quite high up there, the Blythe guy.
Yeah, Robbie Dale. Many games against Robbie Dale, and he's the king of the chop, and you don't know which way he's going to go. And yeah, he's up there, and obviously Jamie Vardy and people like that. The great Halifax side who won our league with Danny Holland and Lee Gregory and Jamie Vardy up front. That was special, and I think we managed to get a draw at their place, and that was a really good game. We hung on to a point, but yeah, played against some special teams. Obviously, the special teams like FC United with Carlos Rocker and Jerome Wright and Norton up front. Yeah, special sides. But I think I also mentioned to Rico in his short interview as well. Playing against Jack Lester in the pre-season friendlies for Chesterfield, Jack it was something different. It was hard to explain, but his know-how and bringing other players into the game and his strength and just his composure on the ball, Jack Lester for me was fantastic. And then just so many players that have got so much ability, and it'll be sad to think that I'm not able to put a shirt on again and compete against these special players. But I'm sure my spot at Matlock Town will be filled by another willing young lad that hopefully can go on and do similar to what I've done.
Okay, lovely stuff there, Yatesy. All that's left for me to say in the interview is happy retirement, and you're a legend of the club, and I'm sure everyone when Matlock are back pre-season will be eager to speak to you, and I imagine buy you a pint as well.
Of course, I think I've got a few pints to buy as well, and I just want
all right.
just before we finish, Matt, I just want to say a special thank you to all the volunteers at Matlock, and a lot of people down there commit a lot of time and effort into the club, and particularly people like Bev and Trav and Jed, the kit men. Bev's looked after us and the players for years and years, and don't get the credit that they're due, really. So I just want to take a huge hats off as well as you and James as well, because you do a cracking job, and so many people down the lane commit so many hours and time into Matlock Town for very little reward. So I just want to take my hats off to them, and thanks for all the supporters' support over the years, and yeah, it's been emotional and one of the hardest decisions I've had to make. So yeah, I'm getting a bit emotional here, but so yeah, sorry about that.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for your kind words. I didn't pay you too much to say that, so thank you.
No problem. No.